Welcome to another build update for my slide-in truck camper build project. I've been experimenting with using a new camera, and the time-lapse record rate is a little different than the camera I've been using, and so that kind of slowed things down, which I'm still trying to figure out what I like. I think the other one was probably going a little bit too fast. I work half days, 5 days a week on this, and seems like 4 or 5 minutes time lapse just goes a little bit too fast for my documenting purposes. But anyway, this might be a little bit too slow. I'm gonna have to experiment and see. This that I'm working on here is a floor panel to go underneath the desk table area. There will be a drawer in that gap between the cargo bays and the seating table area above that. And the 1x2 edges that I'm putting on are going to support the removable, I don't know, floor panels or tiles that will give access to the storage space beneath. I was able to put screws in from the outside edges on all but two ends of the 1x2s. I don't know that it's really necessarily because those corners will be fairly well supported by the joists themselves, but I didn't really want a big ugly toenail screw sitting in there, so two of them are a little weaker than I would like them to be, but overall I think I'm satisfied with it. Above there will be a slide out drawer, so I'm not even sure what the rest of that's going to look like yet, but pretty sure that what I'm installing here is going to stay without changes. When I made the internal wall panels, I purposely left the 1x2 off so that I could install it, close that gap down there. So that's what I'm doing here, closing it up and joining the upper and lower with screws and glue. I'm realizing that camera angles are going to be difficult as I start working on the interior and can't point a camera through holes in the walls or where there is no wall. And this dark corner here is also showing the need for some better lighting solutions moving forward, but that's all something I planned on doing, just haven't gotten to yet. Part of the learning development curve here, doing YouTube. So here's kind of a flyby of the finished area there. Nothing too exciting about it, but just the other side I'm leaving open because the strip will have to go into the black tank area. Okay, so what I was just showing there is what I'm working on here. I'm taking a 2x4 and shaping it. It'll go on top of it'll essentially be the entryway into the bed area platform, and it'll only be the center portion of this, and then I'm cutting out notches that will rest underneath the main structure for the platform, so that I get essentially the vertical truss in the front corners of the camper, and then a horizontal truss that extends over into the bed area, the loft. And so I'm shaping that out so that I have a good solid transition from that thin piece of plywood underneath into the more structural areas. This didn't turn out quite the way I envisioned it when I started. I made some mistakes as I was cutting it, but overall I was satisfied with the outcome. Definitely the most complex single piece in my project, at least so far. Um, it'll when I put it on in a few moments here in the video, it'll make more sense what I'm doing. But essentially, the thicker part there is what I'll be crawling over to get into the bed area. And initially, I was going to just have a lap joint between the vertical plywood, but I kind of have I won't say love-hate, it's more of a like-hate relationship with table saws. I know they can be wonderful when you get them set up right, but I always seem to do something wrong. And in this case, I cut what was supposed to be, I was going to cut off a side edge, and I ended up cutting way too deep. Then I decided to just go ahead and leave the groove in there rather than cut the side out, and I think I'm happy with it, but I wouldn't have gone near as deep as I did with that groove if I hadn't messed up. I don't think it's going to split out or anything, and if it does, there's no places for the pieces to go because by the time everything's built, it'll be glued in place. So that's where it's installed there. The platform will come for the bed, will rest on top of those cutout edges and form a shelf to the right there. I say shelf, there'll actually be a slide out pantry above it and shelves below it, but it does create, more of a box structure that goes from the horizontal to the vertical to support that edge of, well, it's the most stressed because it's cantilevered there. So here I'm cutting down the exterior wall panel. Nothing is truly square or level or anything, so it was a bit tricky. Here I'm trying to get height for the internal cut because there will be 2 inches of insulation plus the platform, which is formed by, it's essentially a sandwich panel, 2 pieces of plywood with 1x2s between them. So the exterior wall and the interior floor of the bed area will be about 5 inches apart with all of the stuff in between. So that's why I was trying to get the measurements plus all of the offsets figured out there. Get those trimmed down to size. Originally I tried to cut without a straight edge, but on a horizontal like that wasn't working very well for me. So those diagonals there are supposed to represent how I was going to put a 2x4 on there, but it's just way too much structure, and all of my panels, it turns out, end up being sandwich panels with 1x2s in them, and if I had continued with the 2x4, it would have extended into the room or the interior area, and it wouldn't have allowed me to use the larger panel. See, it's pretty thin on that top edge there, but I think it'll work. And there's where it'll form a lap joint with the panel when it comes in across the top. Now I'm putting 2x2s or 1.5 by 1.5 in the corners because that wall there has to support all the weight of the overhang. So I'm not trusting that 1x2s. There'll also be diagonals coming up from the center of the structure, since those that aren't actually supported underneath by anything. And so anyway, it'll all come together to support it. From the inside panels, not the outside. As I've said before, the outside is more cladding than actual structure. If I were to do it over again, I would have extended the horizontal 2x4 across the top of the panel, clear to the edges, and then had this underneath it. But it should be fine the way it is. So here I am now installing 1x2s. The ones that had been there were just kind of placeholders to hold it together. They weren't the straightest, so I pulled out straighter, better ones, and now I'm getting ready to glue and staple them in place. I wanted to stagger the pieces of plywood and the 1x2s so that seams or joints with the walls and the panels and the 1x2s didn't all end up in the same place. And so here I think I have pretty good overlap or stagger between all the edges. I could have put the 1x2s in sooner, but I just wasn't sure how everything else was going to measure out. So now I'm getting the side panels ready, and my sister-in-law Danielle very kindly came out and helped me to put those in. It would have been a much bigger job if she hadn't been there, but it feels pretty good to finally be getting those side walls up that will extend over the cab there. And so that's where I made it this week. Feels good that it's starting to look a little more like a camper each session. Thanks for watching. See you next time.